Welcome back, everyone. Let's continue. Turn over to page 7 in your workbook. And now we move to documentation strategies. We're on HR law and how to protect ourselves during documentation when we're documenting in the workplace. Now, one of the most important tasks you will undertake as a manager and a leader is your documentation. And can be difficult if you don't have a strategy in place. And I often say this, everyone, document like your career depends on it, because it does. It really does. Your career depends on how well you document and how well you're able to produce those documents when they're needed. And so when we talk about documenting like your career depends on it, we must have a daily strategy in order to put in play. And so what I like to do for you, and what I like for you to do as a table exercise, I want you to stop briefly, and I want you to, as a table, come up with a list of documents that are absolutely critical to the work that you do. So as a table, go around, and let's take 5 minutes to do that. It won't take long. 5 minutes. Make a list of documents you consider to be absolutely crucial to you getting your work done, and those documents that you must produce in case of an emergency, a case of a lawsuit, okay? Take 5 minutes to do that now. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Fantastic. Now, let's go through our list here, and let's take a look at these documents, and these documents that are absolutely critical to our success. Now, what I want to do, and you listed them, and I want to match my list with your list. And you'll see a list in your handbook there, in your handout, in your handbook. Take a look at that list and match it with yours as well. Let's go through a few of these, and let's take a closer look at these documents and why they are important to us. First up are the interviews and selection process. Why are these documents so important? Why are the interviews that we do and the selection process documents so important? Just raise your hand. Okay, great. Wonderful. Yes, all of those are important. All of those are absolutely critical and important. Now, when we talk about the interview and selection process, we talk about making sure that we're prepared at all times, just in case we have to go to court. And when we talk about the interview process and interview selection, we want to be able to, at all times, prove to EEO, Equal Employment Opportunity, or EEOC, the commission, or a court of law, that our process was what? Fair and free from discriminatory operations, anything going on that are discriminatory. We want to make sure that we're able to show that in our process and in those documents. And so it's important that managers, when they do their interviews, keep notes of what was said and what was brought up. Which brings me to a very important point. It's very important that you know the questions you can and cannot ask during an interview. And so our first documents are interviews and the selection process. Now, how many of you had that on your list? Very good. Just about all of you have that. Very good, because those are very important documents. How about the next one? Supervisor termination notes. Why are these notes so important? Why are they important? Very good. Because what is said when you terminate an employee, I can just about guarantee you, it will come back either to bless you or bite you. And so make sure that when you are documenting that it is absolutely critical that you get it right. And so I'm going to talk to you about some resources that's going to make it easier for you, I should say, for you to document. So we'll talk about some resources. And now, while we're here, take a look at handout number 4 that I showed you and I put in your handouts there. Now, here's a list of the chapters and mandated benefits. As I mentioned before, as we go through these areas and these chapters, I want you to circle the problem areas. And on the break, come and talk to me, and let's talk about strategies for making sure that whatever problems you're having there, that we can put together a strategy. And I'm going to stay here as long as you need me to stay and answer all of your questions, okay? So for instance, chapter 17 in mandated benefits talks about layoffs and terminations, okay? That's the chapter that I want you to circle, and if you're having problems in that area, come and talk to me on the break. I'll be in the back of the room, and I want you to talk to me about the break. So make sure as you use this, circle all the problem areas, okay? Let's go to the next one, everyone. The internal investigation process. This is absolutely critical here, everyone. Why? Because let's say a person comes and say they were sexually harassed, and we're seeing a lot of that throughout the country, correct? Let's say that they were sexually harassed. It's very important that we get that documentation correct at all times. We got to get that correct. I see a hand in the back, yes. Yes, it's very important. Let me repeat the question. Is it important to start the investigation immediately? Absolutely. We want to start the investigative process immediately. Do not wait one day, because those timelines in which you document what happened are going to be critical. And so I want you to make sure that you start the process immediately. Don't wait 1 second. The moment a person comes in, document it. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you another resource. Look at the handout number 5 that I gave you. Easy documentation. Now, this is a handout, and you're allowed to copy it. Make as many copies as you need to make. Okay? This is going to make documenting, I should say, easier for you and make it faster. And that's what we want, easy and fast, right? We want easy and fast because we don't have a lot of time. I'll talk more about this handout in just a second, but just know that handout number 5 is there for you. Okay, so when we talk about internal investigations, let's get that investigation started immediately. Do not wait one moment, because every second, those timelines, the attorney will ask you about those timelines. What did you do during this time? Why did you wait, for instance? Why did you wait 15 days to investigate that? Well, the person went on vacation. No, start the investigation immediately. Do not wait 1 second for that. And so let's go to health and safety. Why is that such an important issue when we talk health and safety? Very good, very good. Anything that happens as far as health and safety in the organization needs to be documented. Let me give you an example. There was a case in which this company hired a new janitorial staff, and they hired a person that was perhaps a rookie, and the person came and used a lot of bleach in the toilets. It ran everybody out of the building. And so it was that strong. Now, of course, bleach is strong anyway. Well, it's very important that we have the documentation for that, because what if a person comes back later and said, my lungs, were inflamed, and now I'm sick. I need to have documents as to what happened and who's the responsible party. So very important that we have health and safety documentation as well. Next, employee privacy. Anytime an employee privacy is breached, we need to know about that. We need to know. For instance, there was a case recently where a company found out that an employee was bringing a camera to work and taping female employees in compromising positions. We need to make sure that that is documented, and we need to be able to demonstrate to the court. And I often say, document like when you go to court, not if you go to court. That's a different mentality, right? We're documenting like when we go to court, and what they found out was the person was using this camera in ways sitting under the table in different places. Well, we need to be able to demonstrate to the court what we did, what actions we took, and why it's unacceptable. Look at the next one, everybody. Paperless documents. Our emails are very important. We need to make sure all our paperless documents are protected. That's why we need a system to make sure that they're protected at all times. And then performance reviews. How many had performance reviews on your sheets? Very good. Everybody. Those performance reviews come up. Now, whether you're doing it by the year or semi-annually or quarterly or even monthly. You know, a lot of companies are going to a more standardized way of doing it, like monthly, where they're doing it monthly rather than waiting a whole year. But no matter what system you're using, make sure that you have those documents and make sure you know exactly how to document those processes, you know, document what's being said, what's being done, okay? Very important. And then disciplinary letters. Very important that we get those correct as well. Now, the biggest problem we see with disciplinary letters and disciplinary notes, write-ups we call it, the biggest problem we see is that people are writing incorrect things in the write-up. Those things could come back to bite us. And so I'm going to show you a resource that's going to make it so much easier for it. And at the end of this training, we want what? Easy. We want things to make it easier for us to do our job. And so as we move forward, everybody, every company must have an effective document retention program, or what we call DRP. How do we retain those documents? Now, we created these documents. How do we retain them? And so we need a system in order to make sure that what? We can quickly put our hands on those documents at any time. We need to be able to put our hands on those documents at all times, including electronic documents. And so make sure you have a filing system set up where everybody files it the exact same way. I was working with an organization recently, and they had a great system where everybody filed under the same filing system. But it took someone a lot of time to set that up at the beginning. But we need to be able to put our hands on those documents at all times, okay? And then finally, a documentation or document retention program, it aids in the litigation process. Now, when I say process, it may not go to court, but it's a process that leads up to court, right? And we need to be able to show all along the way. We might not have to go to court if we got what? Our documentation. Our documentation is signed, okay? Now, it may take 3 to 5 years to hear a case in court. That's a long time. And what's the danger of it taking so long to get a case in the court like that? What would you say the dangers are? Very good. See a hand, yes. Okay, very good. Very good. The danger is the documents can disappear. 5 years is a long time, right? I mean, you know, we can't hardly remember what we ate 5 days ago or 5 months ago, let alone documents. So we need a system where we're documenting, because 3 to 5 years is a long time to depend on a system that's fragmented or not put in place properly. And so what is the number one challenge? What would you say is the number one challenge facing us when we talk about documentation? What would be the number one challenge you say? Very good. I'm hearing a lot of very good responses. Very good. But what would be number one? What would you say would be number one? I mean, this is the pet peeve that's driving us all crazy. What would you say? Absolutely. Time. Everybody agree. How many agree with time? Absolutely. Time. I know I have to do all of these things, but I don't have the time. And so how do we put something in place? Let's put a system in place that's going to make it easier, quicker, and allows us to not spend so much time in documenting and doing the things we know we got to do. We just press for time. So it's kind of like looking at this picture, right? You see this stack of papers just stacking up. Kind of reminds me of a good friend of mine. He's a manager. And when he first accepted this position, I went to see him. He had this beautiful office. You know, he has this beautiful office. And it's absolutely beautiful. And when he first moved in, everything was in order. 2 years later, it's stacks of paper everywhere. I mean, the paper tigers got out of control, right? But we can make our life a lot easier if we have a system and a process where we don't allow our paper to get out of control, okay? So we need a system. What is a system? Well, in Chapter 17 of Mandated Benefits, it talks about putting together a system of record keeping that's going to allow you to get it correct from the very beginning. And I like that because it allows us